Welcome to CJ's Car Channel. So today in this very early morning, it's 6 AM, I'm going to show you how to do your discs and pads on a BMW F20. Now I've had the car for about just over a month now, and this is the only serious thing I've had to change. And it's not cost that much either, it's just standard OEM brakes and pads, and they've cost me a grand total of £70. It's pretty cheap. And some of the tools you might need. So let me show you. So some of the tools that you might need. So I would say axle stands for some safety, standard toolbox, screwdriver, your discs and pads, some gloves, a jack. If you're not going to use the jack, you can use the original one from the back in the back of the car. So yeah, but still safety first. So as you can see, the pads are fairly worn on this one. Now obviously the first thing I do is I use a cracking bar and I loosen the nuts while the car is on the ground. Once I've done that, then I can raise the car and then fully loosen up the nuts with obviously the cracking bar. Makes your life easy, no need to strain and struggle. Before, so obviously this should come off a lot easier. And the reason I had this wheel off is because I did the fog light in the first 2 weeks I got the car. And to do the fog light, you got to take this wheel off, remove the inner wheel trim, and then once you've removed the inner wheel trim, you can see the fog light housing. And literally, it's just a case of 2 screws, and you can put the fog light in. The actual trim itself, though, there's probably about, oh god, a shocking amount of screws. They're all like a plastic self-tapping style screws, and there must have been about 10 of them, so you're sitting there unscrewing forevermore. But when this comes off, it's a good chance to have a look at everything else. It's just suspension components. Another thing, when you jack these cars up, don't jack them all the way because they're quite short wheelbase. If you've got a lowered car, the back wheel will come off the ground. Mine's nearly off the ground. So in that case, if your wheel is nearly off the ground, put some chocks under the rear of the car and the other front wheel. I'll show you that in a second. So yeah, going in with safety, just put some chocks, one under the rear, one at the front on the other side. Now you should always do safety first because the car probably weighs about 1.5 ton and you don't want that falling on your hands or your foot, because let's be honest, you could actually lose a body part. So be safe and think smart. So anyway, moving on. So the first things we need to remove is the dust covers, one here and one down here, if I can get my finger to it. When you remove those dust covers, you have, last I remember on my other BMW, it was like an Allen key head bolt thing, which, that's what it looks like to me. You can get these off with a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. You can take them off by hand. That wasn't too hard to do, to be honest. And the first thing you do is undo these, and then that should remove the whole carrier housing. Not the carrier, the actual caliper. So that's good if you're just doing your discs. But I'll be doing the discs and pads, so I'm doing both, to be honest. So yeah, I'll get them unscrewed and I'll take them off for you. So the tool required is one of these, like star-shaped things. I'm not sure what size that is, but it's pretty big, to be honest. So put your gloves on because you don't want to cut yourself. This is the last time I've done something like this. Let's see, they were quite hard to come off. So once you've loosened off the back nuts, remember it's righty tighty, lefty loosey, so we're loosening off first. Make sure you take off the spring retainer first. straightforward. Now it will ping if you're not careful. There we go. You'll also need to jam the screwdriver in, because after all these years the piston would have kept pushing and pushing out more and more and more. So basically, I'm going to try and show you anyway. The piston, as you can see here, the travel is quite towards this way. Now it should be completely that way, so obviously if you put new pads in, there's not going to be enough space and you won't get the pads in, so you have to push it all the way back. If you don't push it all the way back, you'll never get your new pads on your calipers, shall we say. So, yeah, so push that back is the main thing. So it's just a case of jamming in a screwdriver and then pushing it back. Now obviously I'm replacing these discs, so I don't mind scoring the discs at all. Then obviously you can see how easy it is to move the caliper once you've done so. I think that's the maximum travel. Yeah, okay. Then it should just be a case of sliding that, if they're fully unscrewed, that is. Okay, so once you got it off, it might take a bit of shiggling and shuggling, but you will get it off eventually. Now obviously try not to let this hang down on its brake lines because you can damage it. Brake pads should just come out by hand. If you can't get it out, use a screwdriver, but it will come out eventually. You should ideally clean the surface up as well. Pretty straightforward. They only go on one way, so the clip one goes in the piston itself, the other one just goes in the flat surface. Now, you can hang this inside the strut tower. There is space to do that, so it's not going anywhere, that's for sure. As you can see, you can just force it in there, it's not going to hang down on its line. And the next thing is just getting this carrier off. Now, to get the carriers off, some big fucking nuts. Looks like an 18. Yeah, it's an 18 mil nut. So, one down there, one up here, and once they're off, they should take the carriers off, and then you can change your discs. Another thing you have to mind when changing your discs, this is just a retaining nut. You should have to take this out as well, and then this should just all come right away. So yeah, word of warning, if it's being on as like probably on there as long as mine has been. Mine's probably been on there since new. Yeah, just be warned. If you haven't got a bloody torque wrench, they're going to be hard as fuck to get off. What I've had to do is rest the cracking bar on the bottom of this cracker, on the bottom of this, get my words out, caliper carrier, put my device in, and then use the cracking bar to lever up the handle to give me extra leverage, because let's be honest, there's no way in hell I would have got that off otherwise. And that one's not too bad. And then, hey presto, easier to clean when it's off as well. So the next point is an Allen bolt. No, bigger than that. It's bigger than that one. This is where you can't find the fucking tool that you need. There it is. What is that? A hex 6 to take the retainer off. Now, if that shreds, you'll be drilling the fucker out. So just beg that, hope that it doesn't fucking shred. One thing I forgot to show you is when you take the pads off, because this is the driver's side on a UK car, the brake pad sensor is not on this one, it's on the passenger side. So try not break it. If you break the brake pad sensor, obviously your warning light will be on the dashboard, so be careful to take that out and not break it. And then obviously when you put your new pads in, you can just put the fucker back in and away you go basically. But anyway, it's off. More corrosion than I thought, but I guess a lick of paint could sort this out. And maybe you should be greasing all this up as well around the edges to make your life easier the next time. Grease the surface as well so it doesn't literally bond to the hub itself. But here's the old disc. You can see all the corrosion and shit from all the road salt, dirt, stone chippings and all sorts of shit that causes all this. But yeah, they look pretty fucked, to be honest. Okay. And give those a quick clean while you're at it. So, let me just show you something. So, here we go. Our old pad, our new pad. And you can see the thickness is quite considerable. So yeah, new pads for the win. But in the name of doing things right, copper ease. I said I want to make my life easier, and I'm not putting my hands in this shit, so I'll smear this around here to make my life easier. So next point, slide this fucker on, line it up. Your little retainer. Now if you ever lose these or break them, don't worry, you can actually fit a disc without it. It just makes it easier to, you know, hold it in place when you put the wheel on and everything. So don't make it too tight, because obviously you have to take this off in the future. And that's with the new disc on. Quite simple, to be honest. So back to the caliper carriers. So they're basically the same as removal. Go back on the same way you took them off. The flat side one goes on this side. You just push that in, like so. Now this one goes on the caliper side. So obviously there's a hole in there in the piston which this goes into. So you push it in until it goes clip, and then you got the joys of getting this fucker back on. So in the case of mine, it just went, instead it went straight back on, no problems, because I pushed the piston all the way to the back. Obviously it's still a bit loose, but obviously once I'm in the car, after I've tightened all this up, it'd just be to press the pedal a few times, but I'll show you that towards the end, and also show you how to reset it on this car. So here's that brake sensor cable that I told you to take out very carefully. As I said, just be gentle when you get this out, because you don't want to be replacing that unless it is completely screwed. And there we have it, the sensor in the new brake pad and discs right there. So once you basically got to this stage, put your wheels on, and it's basically job's good. And oh yeah, don't forget to put your retaining quick back on. It's easier if you put the sides on first and then pry it in with a screwdriver. But yeah, it should say, so I'll do it again, sorry. It should come up saying service. There we go, reset possible. So you hold that one down for 5 seconds, I believe, and it should reset it. Perform reset, yes. Do it again. Reset in progress, and that should be it. Reset successful, fantastic. So now, no, we don't want to reset that one. So now, if we go back to the computer, menu, vehicle information, vehicle status, service required. Ah, I didn't store it. Oh wait, the front pads has now been changed. As before, you see it move suddenly down. Fantastic, so that's done. I also did the other day, I did that the other day, so that's all been renewed. So, and that's it. So if you liked that video, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll be doing more future videos, probably on my other BMW. What you haven't seen on my other BMWs, I've recently just painted the block, so the block's now a fresh black. I've put a new water pump on. I put a new thermostat housing in, a new rear water housing on. Basically, I'm slowly putting that engine back together again, because it's going to go back into my E36 project, which is a supercharged car. So obviously I'll have more videos coming in the future, but that's the video on this disc pad and disc replacement. So obviously that covers both, and yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave your comments below and I'll respond to them as soon as possible. Cheers, thank you very much, and I guess I'll see you again.